3rd of August 2024 at 10:10 a.m. here on Harstine Island, the state of Washington, United States of America. Welcome once again to our cosmic journey, the story of the lowly dev and the lowly designer charting their way to making the world's best astrology software. I am designer Jake. He is engineer Trey. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake.
Happy August to you.
Thanks. Yeah, August 3rd.
August 3rd.
Just popping into August.
The viewer might notice that I have cool dad mohawk haircut. Yep, I'm a middle-aged man. That's what happens. Yeah. How are you doing, Mr. Henry?
I'm doing great. I love the cool dad mohawk. I think it looks really good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. Today's episode is called In Sect, and the whole reason we named it In Sect is because Trey could not say same sect or contrary sect. He has to say out of sect or
insect.
Yes. So while we don't have anything that is necessarily to the theme of insect, we do have a couple things that we're going to be showing you, such as I have a little bit about the moon point placement that I did. I did a bunch of stuff that is on the kind of writing side, so it's not very exciting to look at, but this is some UI that I can show here. And we have interactivity within the rings and the charts that Trey is going to show us. But before we do that, of course, we always start with the check-in question. Mr. Henry, take us away.
Yes. So today's check-in question, or this cycle's check-in question, is I feel like there's a parallel between, and there's enough players of Dungeons and Dragons these days that hopefully this question will make sense to most people. But there's kind of this parallel between the Dungeons and Dragons character sheet and people's and a sort of a way that people self-identify, kind of similar to like a Myers-Briggs or something like that, where there are 6 stats on a Dungeons and Dragons character sheet, which represent your strength, your constitution, your dexterity, your intelligence, your wisdom, and your charisma, most of which are exactly what they sound like. So my question for you as the check-in question is, what is your character sheet?
Low strength, super low dexterity, high charisma, high intellect, middling to low wisdom, and what's the 6th one?
What did you miss? So we have strength, dexterity, constitution.
High constitution. High constitution.
Yeah,
I can literally eat garbage and be just fine.
Yep. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with Con. I would say that your strength has to be at least a neutral stat. I think like you rolled. I think you rolled low strength, but you trained into higher strength. Like over the years, you've put your +1 into strength.
It's not great. We have to work on that.
Oh, okay. Calm down with the gun show.
What about you? what are your stats?
High int, low whiz. So high intelligence, low wisdom. I think is definitely kind of like the primary characteristic. I would say I have high dex, and I think in this way we the two of us work out really well because I do a lot of the like if things need to be repaired or if we need to like construct something, like make something, or all of that kind of stuff. Anything that requires like high dex is definitely my thing.
Right.
I think average charisma, or maybe like, my charisma's pretty good.
Your charisma's all right. You tend to downplay your charisma. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You're very charming.
Thank you. Thanks. It's that Piscean charm that comes through. And then what did I miss? So strength, dexterity,
wisdom,
constitution.
intellect.
Oh, strength. Yeah. So I didn't say. I think strength.
You've got
strength.
Higher strength than me, for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm actually, because I think I rolled high on strength. Our friend Mark in Germany once described me as like an ant that can like lift 10 times its weight. That was what I was giving him a piggyback ride. I'm small and compact, and so I think I have like a lot of leverage when it comes to muscle.
Very good. Love the
fun.
check-in question.
Good
check-in, everybody. So talk a little bit about what we did in the design this cycle. As you remember from last week, you can see up there, we had talked a lot about planetary conditions, specifically going through, I do have it with me. Going through the summary of Ancient Astrology in Theory and Practice from the lovely Demetra George. I wrote her a thank you note for how good this book was, just to make sure that everything was covered that was covered in here. I have started reading volume 2 last night. It's a banger, just to let you know. However, we did talk also about last week which I'm going to point up there, but you can only see, I can only put a reference to last week once, so I don't know why I'm pointing up there, but I'm doing it. Around what we're going to do about the moon, specifically around the speed of the moon and how we were going to represent that. This required me to go to the Picatrix in order to get a sense of what electional astrology cares about when electing for speed when it comes to the moon. Any speed that is slow will start to feel Saturnian, and anything that feels Saturnian is bad. And given that Saturn is in my first house and I identify so high with that, I just don't understand why the Picatrix has to, tear me down in order to bring itself up. That's fine. That's fine. You know what? Some people are like that.
What did the ancients know?
Yeah. Feel free, ancients. Feel free, like and comment below.
Yeah.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I know you've been dead for about 3,000 years, but that's fine. Maybe.
Yeah, but they made writings so that they could be bitchy queens throughout all eternity.
Exactly. They're just very anti-Saturn. That's fine. Just what the thing is. So what you're seeing here is a little bit of design. A couple things to note here. The left-hand side is normal planet. Right-hand side is luminary, specifically the moon. You'll see that we have retrograde for planets, but the moon would be void, of course. This is not implemented yet, but I actually really like this void, of course. Look, I don't know if it's going to scale properly, but we're going to take a look at it in the UI. You'll notice that we do the speed here, and that we have this line here is the, let's see if you can see this. This line here tells you you're going to do retrograde or not. This is the average speed. We talked about that last week. But speed isn't here. The phase of the moon is actually the most important. That's what I should have said. The phase of the moon is most important. Then it's sign, then it's house, then it's this stuff, then it's aspect, and then speed. So the speed graph is below aspects, and you'll notice that we don't use red for luminaries because luminaries do not go retrograde, and red and retrograde have to be interlocked with one another. So red does not mean extremely slow, i.e. retrograde. Red means retrograde, and this, what I'm calling dingy cyan, is extremely slow. What is extremely slow? According to the Picatrix, anything below 12 degrees per day is extremely slow. So that's what our line is going to be here. And then we will have eventually a speed graph. Ignore the stuff on the left here. These words are wrong, but it'll go super slow, and then it'll go into something that's a little bit faster, something like that. And then I had the space to the left, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I thought that was a perfect place to either put a lunar mansion, or we could instead do an eclipse date. So I don't know what you think, Mr. Henry. Do you think that an eclipse date, whether the next eclipse date is the right thing to do, or would it be the lunar mansion?
Oh, that's really a tough call. I just, from a priorities perspective, I think for me it would probably be the mansion, because that's just more useful to me.
Yeah.
But the eclipses are also really good to know, and I'm just really used to just fast forwarding the chart until you get to a new moon sun conjunction or opposition that is within a few degrees of one of the nodes. So,
do you want to talk a little bit about the interactivity of the chart?
Yeah. So we have we're looking primarily at the stuff in the right-hand column here. So we have click on chart point to get placement card. We're looking at Jake's chart here. And so if I look at, for example, Jake's Jupiter, I can simply click on it. And now the left-hand panel hides and the right-hand panel pops up, and it shows just the point placement detail card at the moment. So a lot of the stuff that you see in the design for speed over time and things, that's not in here yet. But this is now all in here. So we've shown all of these components before, so I won't really go over them. But there's one thing that I think is kind of fun to point out here.
Yeah. So are you going to show it the panels?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let me just show one thing first. We didn't talk about this, so let me go to my screen. Trey and I talked a lot about panels, and so what you're looking at now is what's the panel spec, right? So It has two panels, the left one, which shows basically stuff at the highest level for the rings, the right one, which shows detail. So you can think of it kind of, like the schematic in your mind is that anything to the left is kind of bigger or wider, and things to the right are smaller or narrower. Go ahead, Mr. Henry.
Yeah. So back over here. When so I'm just going to refresh the page to start fresh here. So when you click on something, you get the right-hand panel, and then there's a little close indicator here. So if you click on the close indicator, you'll notice that the right closes and the left opens back up. If I close the left, and then I click on a point, which also now you can click on parts. It doesn't show a lot of detail, but it does work. And
There will be more details soon about
yeah,
parts.
exactly.
I also was reading a lot about the nodes and parts. Yes, this
Yeah.
cycle.
So when you close this, you'll notice the left doesn't open because the left wasn't open before. So we've tried to, and this was what that spec that Jake was showing, we've tried to capture the intention of the state of the left panel for when you toggle the right panel. It's a very fidgety thing, but it's the kind of thing that the viewer will know Jake and I really care about, because it's the kind of thing that leads to a high sense of polish. So, and there was another kind of cool thing about this. So this, I kind of, Jake made this screenshot because I was commenting on how elegant Elixir, the programming language that we use, is sometimes, and how basically if you squint, the left-hand side of this is basically the right-hand side, and then he drew this little diagram that shows each line or each row sort of going to each row. Individual hotkey presses should not be throttled. So if I use the hotkeys to go through time, so I'm going forward by day here, by hitting the 3 key on the keyboard. When moving through time by day, if you hold down the hotkey, you get this movement, which is the hotkeys are throttled so that they're not flooding the client and the server with a bunch of requests, but that it's still moving quickly. However, that throttling was happening even when you would press the button multiple times very quickly. And that has a weird sluggish feeling to it. When you can't, if you press a button intentionally, you want the software to react. And what would happen is occasionally, if you pressed it fast enough, if you exceeded the window for how we throttle, how we debounce those requests, it would eat that request, and then it would feel like the application didn't respond when you were doing something. So we fixed that now, and I can just like jam this 3 key as fast as possible, and it feels very snappy and responds as you would expect. But if you hold the key down, then you get the throttled keys. So
Nice.
only highlight the triplicity lord of Sect. So
Yeah, we talked about that.
In Sect, the triplicity lords for this is a daytime chart. So we have Venus as the
I call it the triplicity day lord. I do not know if that's a term that is actually to be used, but that's just what I call it in the spec.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But anyway, the Sect, the Sect Lord, I guess. And then the opposite Sect, so this would be for daytime, this would be for nighttime, and this is the cooperating for Earth, for the Earth triplicity. This is showing that before we would have highlighted the triplicity lords because just the moon is in that set of planets, but now we would only do Venus in this case. So those are some of the key things that we accomplished in this cycle.
What should the viewer do today, Mr. Henry? I tend to interrupt you whenever you do this. I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut.
Oh, no, I think you should do it.
No, I do it every time.
What should the viewer do today?
Here's what the viewer should do. The viewer should relinquish their responsibility to always come up with what they should be doing and give it to somebody else. That's what you should do.
Oh, very meta.
It's very meta. Give the responsibility to somebody else for them to make decisions on what you should do today. Be well. We love you. We hope that you have a lovely weekend, whatever day you watch this video. Take care, and we will see you again very soon. Goodbye.
Bye.